All right, the lab is live and bubbling up from the bottom here. I hope you guys enjoyed the pre-show game. If you're coming here from that. If not, well, we're here to lab it up, and you can check out the pre-show game a little bit later, of course, on the YouTube. It should be up very shortly, as a matter of fact. I'm joined, of course, by Tom.
Hello, everyone.
Mike.
Hey.
And Jay.
Howdy.
And, of course, every week we are brought to you in part by HCRealms.com, your one-stop source for awesome Heroclix information. Use the unit section to build your teams, check out the figures that you're wondering about, or just look up general information. Use the forums for awesome Heroclix discussion. Toss your team up there. See what people think. And, of course, there's always constant articles on a regular basis. I believe this is an off week, but every other week, Jay put us up an article chronicling all the recent news rules arbitration that occurs on the WES. So check that out, as always, at HCRealms.com. And while you're there, click the shop button. If there's anything cool that you like in there, I'm sure there's something cool you like. Some ROC gear, some maps, some all kinds of HeroClix stuff. On your way to check out, put in the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off of your purchase. We're also brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com. And check out the Apex Insiders premium site. For $3 a month, you get access to articles written by some of the top in the game, including Patrick Uboko, among other past world champions, including Paris Gordon, Rock repeat champions, such as Easton Brock. It's an awesome collection of players who do write some awesome articles, and occasionally I write something there too. So, and some of our information today will be coming from them, as they are the first source for Rock updates out there. And we also want to make a special mention to the Comic Book Addiction in Whitby, as this weekend they will be running the WKO. It's going to be run at a church local, which I'll give an address to on our way out of the show. But I just want to share some of the information in regards to that. On your way in, if you are pre-registered, which you should be, if not, check out the posting on the WES, the WizKids event system. Click on the WizKids Opens. Go to Canada, click on the Comic Book Addiction icon, and then go to the pre-registration. Once you're in there, when you buy your registration ticket, make sure you put in your WES ID, and you can either print out the receipt or bring some ID on the way in just to prove who you are, so that we can keep the process smooth on the way in. There will be pizza, pop, and coffee there as well for a small stipend. And we do have some information with regards to WKO specifically. They've got enough prizing, I'm not joking, for 28 side events in addition to the main event. So there are going to be a ton of Battle Royales going throughout the entire weekend. If you happen to come across the Comic Book Addiction store on the Sunday, I believe they're running the Dice Masters regionals as well. I have to get a little bit more detailed information on that. But they'll also be running any leftover prizing for the Kids Battle Royals will also be run on the Sunday alongside the Dice Masters. And if you're a Dice Masters player and you're interested in getting in early, check out at the event at the church. It's not too far from Comic Book Addiction's location as well. They will be running some of the side events on that day. So once again, that's run by Comic Book Addiction. This is the Whitby event, the Whitby WizKids Open on March 12th and 13th. March 12th, of course, being the Heroclix Regionals. All right, so now that's out of the way for now. Let's talk about this week in news. And this week in news brought us 2 previews, 3 if you count the non-previews, or rather the non-dial-related previews. And we got some changes to the WKO on the way, including some major changes to the U.S. Nationals, and news from Majestics that came in during the pre-show game with regards to this weekend's ROC. So let's get right into previews, guys, and we're going to lose my face in a short second with the winnable con exclusives. Now, this notification came out, or this update came out on the, give me a second, on the Tuesday last week. So right after the Metal Lab, or the day after the Metal Lab, of course, we get the look at all the winnable prizes. Now, some of those we knew about. We knew that Cosmic Daredevil was going to be one of them, and we knew that Kingdom Come Hawkman was going to be one of them. But news on this, we also got the Man Spider, which seems to be coming with a Click effects base, a Rocket Groot duo, about time, a Kingdom Come Red Robin, an Ace the Bat Hound, a black and white Casey Jones, and a black and white Shredder for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Con winnables. So initial oohs and ahs from Tom. What do you think, Tom? What are you excited about? What are you less excited about?
Once again, I feel like they've chosen things that are appropriate for the con season. There's stuff that I don't need to have, and yet stuff that I'll be grateful to get if I happen to be there or happen to have the opportunity. I don't need a man spider, but it's an awfully cool looking sculpt. The Groot and Rocket duo is a great example of something that, again, it is overdue, but by the same token, we've got lots of Groots, we've got lots of Rockets, so it's not strictly necessary. Again, until we see the dials, everything could change if they turn out to be profoundly powerhouse pieces that you need from a competitive perspective. But from a collector's perspective, I could take these things and I'd be happy to have them, but I don't absolutely require them. We've talked about Hawkman before. And from there, I mean, I am most excited about the dog, largely because animals are pretty awesome. And frankly, the Turtles stuff is looking good. I mean, like physically looking like it's well sculpted, well done. And so I'm almost more excited than I thought I would be, if only because I don't know. It's a property that we've wanted to see for so long. I almost expect disappointment, and so far I haven't got it. So I'm excited. I think that they're perfect con choices.
All right, Mike.
I really like the Red Robin. I like any of the KC stuff. I'm big on the duo, of course. I think Groot and Rocket's just whimsical and fun and hopefully very good. But the rest, no big deal.
All right, Jay.
I see 4 potential animal keywords here, so because Ace is going to for sure have it, Rocket and Groot are for sure going to have it. Hawkman, maybe? Because they're all like, he's living embodiment of the Hawk God and like hawks and stuff, so that's potential. And Man Spider, could be, you never know. So that's a lot of animals, and animals have been really awesome lately. That's amazing. Cosmic Daredevil, I couldn't really care less about. I mean, Daredevil himself is cool, but not really going to be aiming to get this guy unless he's just that good and whatever, has good keywords. Rocket and Groot is obviously awesome. But it feels like it could have been an SR in the set, but then again, given how amazing the World's Finest were, it seems to be, and all their iterations that they got in Modern Age were awesome, so looks like it'll be an awesome piece, although I hope that it isn't as fragile as it looks with Rocket just like hanging on by one hand there, so it's not going to broke. Hawkman I'm still excited for, and the sculpt looks pretty awesome. Red Robin is cool, and another Dick Grayson's good, and Ace the Bat Hound is obviously awesome. And I'm not really interested in the turtle stuff.
All right, awesome. Myself, I'm ecstatic for just about everything. If I was to put a least excited for, it would be Cosmic Daredevil, but I still want them. So ultimately, I'm super excited for everything we're seeing here as far as cons go. Next up, we have a few Turtles previews to go over, and I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing for a second because I went and disorganized myself for a second. So now I'm going to save my favorite and most excited for last, and I'm going to start with Baxter Stockman. And we actually got 2 Baxter Stockman. So we got about 4 Ninja Turtles previews to quickly go over. We have the comic book version of Baxter Stockman, which we'll start with right here. He's got a trait. I don't need anyone except my Mousers. When a friendly character named Mouser is KO'd by an opponent's attack, roll a d6. On a 4 to 6, 4 to 6 colon. It looks like they're going to be doing some new layouts on this. You may place a Mouser from outside the game if no other friendly character did. He comes with stealth and a special attack power. Give Baxter Stockman a free action to heal an adjacent character with the robot keyword 1 click. If it can't be healed, modify its speed and attack values by +1 this turn instead. Mike, what's your takeaway on the comic book version of Baxter Stockman?
He's awesome. I really like him a lot. I mean, excuse me. Add him to any team with Justin Seifert and his Sentinel, and he's gonna fit in just fine. Let's see here. Yeah, give Baxter Stockman a free action, heal an adjacent friendly character with a robot keyword with 1 click, which is great. I mean, you can generally afford to build with someone without willpower and then push them, and it won't matter as much. That's just how I'm seeing him right now. Sorry if I'm a little off tonight. I'm very tired today, but he actually is probably the one I was most excited about aside from Raph.
All right, Jay.
I can definitely see this guy being played in 400 raw gauge with the bat signal, especially because he never really needs to take a power action, so you can just do the bat signal, bring them back, heal them if they need to, and then wash, rinse, and repeat with Justin sending the robot out and whatnot. And given that Metallo is as awesome as he is, and then we also got Toymaster for robot support, it's looking like robots are getting pretty awesome too. Or awesomer.
Awesomer.
Awesomer. Triple R.
Awesomer. Tom.
Yeah, you said it. He's excellent for 30 points. What more do you want? If he started with Perplex, then he would just be bananas because then he would never really have to leave. He just basically send your robot on its way. But even without it, he's very soft, but the stealth will do some protecting of him. And honestly, for 30 points, of course he's soft. I think that he's a fantastic piece. The fact that he can bring out wit and stealth for 30 points is already great. With the bonus against robots and late Dow Perplex, it's even greater.
Yeah. And he's going to be good friends with characters that rhyme with Schmolchron. All right. So next, we move on to Baxter Stockman. That was my worst attempt at a bug noise coming out of my mouth, so I apologize. He's traded. Baxter Stockman can carry up to 4 tiny characters. And his special damage power, he can use Outwit and Perplex, but only to target the same opposing character. Jay, you get the lead on this one.
Pardon?
Hello? Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Baxter Stockman, the bug?
He's decent-ish for the points, but nothing really competitive. He's not bad, but he's nah.
All right, Tom?
Yeah, I think he's great. Honestly, 60 points. He's at least an aggravation. Sidestep plus super senses plus shape change will allow him, if nothing else, to get into your face and be kind of a pain in the arse to get rid of. And beyond that, he's got a decent little length of dial and some damage output for 60 points. So honestly, that plus the ability to carry all those tinies, that's a great way to get those hoverbots across the field if you really need it. And I find there's a lot of ways that you can spam out little tiny things. So he's situational, but he'll be fun. I like him.
Yeah. Now, I couldn't get a hold of the Instagram. I'm going to try to dig it up quickly. But the Mouser did get shown off from the Instagram post, or from an Instagram post from Heroclix or WizKids, and it's a short-dialed little minion thing.
Great minion thing.
Great, it's a great little thing. Here we go, I got it right here. Boom. Let's see if I can't get that a little bigger though. There we go. Better. Awesome. All right, let me pull that up now. I'm all over the place with the screen shares. Usually I have these all pulled up and ready to go, but I don't know what happened to me today. So the Mouser is 2 clicks. Both clicks have sidestep. He's got a trait, give the Mouser a power action to destroy an adjacent wall or square of blocking terrain, which is very thematic. He moves through hindering terrain. He's a robot with a TMNT villain, and he's got exploit weakness on both of those clicks. So, and it's indomitable. Tom!
Crazy. So good. 20 points for Indomitable exploit weakness with sidestep that can go through hindering without stopping, chew through terrain, and just be a general, again, pain in the arse. I mean, I don't know. I don't need to go on about this guy. He's unbelievable.
Yeah. Mike?
I think he's amazing, actually. And in fact, the bug Baxter Stockman was very good too. I didn't get a chance to comment on him.
Oh, did I miss you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay, man. Having one of those nights. But yeah, no, tremendous for 20 points. Really, really good overall. The fact that he is indomitable is just amazing. Just nutty, totally nutty. I'm gonna destroy Tom with him.
Okay.
It's only 20 points and does what it does, so there's not really much to say. And I do like that they're, instead of just doing weird keywords or just doing straight up Ninja Turtles villains as a keyword, just to keep it straightforward and simple.
Mm-hmm. That's neat.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, we got labeled with a challenge this past Friday at our Patreon Hangout to do cats versus mouse, if you will. We're going to get as many black cats as we can get our hands on and as many mouses as we can get our hands on and do a matchup. But we put a stipulation on it. We need 1,500 subscribers. Now, last check when we first made that, we were at 1472. We're at 1480 right now. We're real close. Let's pop over that 1,500 and you can get to see me and Amber play a cute little game of cat and mouse, if you will. While I'm vamping about that, yes, I do love the mouses. I can't wait to be chewing through walls and laugh at people's PIM choice of the PIM lab as I break it all down. Though I doubt I'll be spending a ton of actions on it. But you know, for what it is, what you get with sidestep, indomitable, and exploit weakness on a character of that size, it's really exciting. But what I'm really excited about for this set, the figure I've been waiting to see, Donatello starting in comic form. He's got the same trait as Raphael, fighting through the swarms. When Donatello hits an opposing character after his actions resolve, you may place him in any square adjacent to that character. He's also got a special attack power on his first 3 clicks. All damage dealt by Donatello causes knockback, and he's got a giant reach of 2, which is what you get for powers. We start with Tom on the Mouser. Yeah, okay, Mike, sure, all right.
Point 1 for the pain.
Yeah, all right, he gets
this
1.
Guy.
We'll give him 1. I called the scientist keyword if I remember correctly, so is that.
I think
that's
a
a
more
gimme.
obvious.
Gimme, come on. That's a gimme.
I called that he was going to have a bandana.
And he's an animal.
Well, come on, he's got a big stick. The giant reach was kind of implied too.
No. The other one is even better.
Lots of Heroclix figures have various different staffs, sticks, and swords, and don't get it. So that was cool.
Yeah. All right, Mike, you wanna start on it, or you just want to brag about calling?
I just wanted to cut you off and say, yeah, woo, me, awesome. He's really good though. 50 points. I'm actually very happy with the comic book versions of these guys, the original comic book versions with the red masks. Mm-hmm. I was kind of hoping that they would be black and white though, just sculpt-wise, because I think that would be really, really cool. Black and white with red masks, because that was the very, very original comic, the way it was done.
The Eastman Laird book, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really good. Fits on many, many teams. Great stats, tremendous. The outwit is very fitting for Donatello, and actually you and I had talked about that previously. So you called that. Outwit, right there. You got that one, buddy.
Yeah, it was gonna be outwit or perplexity.
And his style's really good too with the close combat expert. I love that.
Yeah.
And you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with 5 clicks for 50 points. I like that. 10 points a click. I don't mind that.
All right, Jay.
I think he's pretty solid. It's interesting that the comic book common versions of the Turtles are seeming to be pretty awesome. The knockback is always good. Outwit's good, especially for that cheap. Stats are solid enough, I guess. The trait's good, especially with all the generics that it seems that are going to be coming out. Nothing much to complain about. He's just solid.
All right, awesome. And I keep forgetting that I'm on screen share and keep trying to do other things and multitask because I shouldn't be on the screen share.
Second screen, man.
You're forgetting also my opinion.
Well, that's the problem. It is on my second screen. Tom, your thoughts on Donatello?
I think he's super good, and for all the same reasons everybody just said. I just want to add the little mathing of it, that if he charges in for 4 squares, hits somebody that's 2 squares away, knocks them back 2, and then appears on the other side of him, he's now moved 9 squares with a charge action. Now I know that's a fairly situational setup, but that is some great battlefield control, especially when you land and then start outwitting. So
he's almost as good as Condiment King, wouldn't you say?
Oh, he's almost up there. Crazy good. Crazy good. I love him.
Yeah, math works out. I'm sitting here tapping my desk like, does that math work out? But yeah, everybody's kind of covered my love of Donnie on this one, but we do have one more Donnie to go over, and that is the new Nickelodeon cartoon version. Very, very similar in function, except he starts with an 18 defense with Invulnerable, which is wow, and then 11 attack with Perplex. Now, we move into his second, third, and fourth clicks where he's got the special power where he gets a giant reach of 3 because apparently he uses a Nagitana, and he also gets Blade's Claws, but only if he's attacking a non-adjacent character. So if he is giant reaching at 3, he can use Blades, otherwise, or giant reaching at 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So that was Mike got the J. Cartoon Donnie. Super rare. A little bit of an irking on my part, but
he's interesting. Stats are also very good, especially with the Heroclix. His attacking isn't the best with leap and no giant reach to start, but then picking up the giant reach is really good, especially with 3 squares. His damage output is okay as is, but then with his 2 damage blades, you're always going to want to roll blades because why not? And then I like how after a bit of damage, he's still doing different stuff with the 18 defend, although with the 9 attack support, you don't really know how often he's going to be hitting with it, especially with no indom, but still 18 defend on clicks that low is awesome, especially with sidestep. So he doesn't seem to be your big attacker so much as just support and tertiary attacking and helping out a lot more.
But he can.
Yeah. Tom?
Kind of a tie-down figure. Leap, climb, invulnerability with high defense, and perplex to even further increase his defense. I see him largely jumping in there. He's not obviously as good as he would be if he had plasticity or whatever, but all the same, he kind of gets in there and ties everyone down while they all come at it. I must admit, I don't like one click of perplex. I don't like the fact that you have to push onto his attack power, and in so doing you lose the perplex, or you keep the perplex and you don't get the cool attack power. Not a big fan of that. And again, like Jay said, I love the combination of defend and support, but not when the defend is really high and the attack's really low. So, he's not really for me, but whatever. They can't all be winners.
Yeah, I see the high defense as the keep your team alive.
Oh, of course. I'm not saying that that's not the case. I just
Yeah, you use it on that for the defend turn. The thing that I just don't like leap climb, and I don't like how this piece plays out in my mind in terms of just mobility. And I'm big on move and attack, as everybody is pretty much. I'm not alone in that at all. But I don't mind so much having to push him to get to that Blades, Claws, Fangs click. But yeah, the fact that there is no perplex to kind of go with it to be able to make his attack reasonable, because 10 attacks are not my favorite. I don't like 10 attacks because they're just underneath that cusp of being very effective, and so in that way he's not as good as the other Donatello, even though the other one does have 10 attack. He is cheaper though. He's 50 points instead of 60 points.
Well, this one's still only 60 points.
I know, for 60 points. Like, if you look at it overall, 60 points, amazing.
Yeah, and this Donatello will have a harder time hitting this Donatello versus the rest of the defenses in the game, which are usually 17.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I actually like the last 3 clicks. I like the way, or the last 2 clicks rather, the way that plays out. I like that section of the dial.
Yeah, the way I look at those last 2 clicks is that at that point in the game, that's going to turn the tide, because when you get into the later parts of the dial and everybody starts hitting those later parts of the dials, attacks start getting low. It gets really hard to modify things because you're at the desperation point in the late game, and I can see that 18 defense really kind of working to your advantage and keeping your things alive while you can still make your attacks forward. So that's the way I kind of look at it. Yeah, that's my takeaway on that one. But ultimately, I do agree with a lot of what was said. You know, 9 attack with an 18 defense with support is is not an ideal situation. But you know, the mid dial 3 square reach with Blades clauses can throw somebody off very, very, very easily. And he can beat, this is a guy who comes in and pokes after combat is already engaged, the way I'm looking at it. You know, you've got your close combat started, Donnie comes in, chills out for a bit, you keep going, and then Donnie adds to the final blow and then lets your guy go off and attack something more important. So that would be where I would take him. Anyway, with that is the preview portion of our show. Faster than usual, thank you guys for that.
No problem.
We're getting our belief together, as it were. But on that note, we have to take ourselves into some more news, as the WKO as me and Jay discussed last week, there were a lot of seats covered for the WKOs, and that caused what looks like a restructuring for the U.S. Nationals. Now, as myself and Jay said, with the WKOs that already have occurred, they have decided that the 79 seats fill up the tournament. And as a result, in order to get into U.S. Nationals, you have to have qualified in a WKO. Now, this is kind of last-second news. And U.S. Nationals as well is also happening at Origin Game Fair. So the same weekend as Worlds. So it sounds like there's a lot of restructuring of the tournament format. Something they probably should have done at the beginning of the year instead of this late in the year, but I think they're getting caught flat-footed with the results of the WKO. Now, that doesn't leave everything off. As I said, Nationals is occurring on the same weekend as Worlds, the U.S. Nationals. And in order to get into U.S. Nationals, you have to have qualified through a WKO. But the WKOs aren't over yet in the U.S., as it would appear. They have started up a second round of WKOs, some of which are already started to be listed in May, which is, that last-second qualifier, to say the least. And the locations that have been listed, Bud's Place in, it looks like, Alabama, Heroes and Villains in Arizona, Battlegrounds Games in California, the Nerd Store in Colorado. There's like a list of 23 stores in an article on Heroclix.com that I'm just going to put up right here very quickly. But there's 23 different stores that are going to be running these events. Now, the second round, a couple things that are important about it. One thing that's important about it, only 32 players can play in each one. So if you're going to one of these, sign up now. Don't stop. Keep listening to the show. This is a good audio portion to go ahead and sign up, but sign up now. As well, you'll be getting the first shot at the new 2016 con exclusives, the ones we just showed you. As well, the sale ones, including the Ninja Turtles van and the Surfing Batman, are going to be sold there. And then 3 of the con IDs are going to be released here. Captain Cold, Dr. Fate, and Lex Luthor will be released for this second round of events. And then if you're a Dice Masters fan, there's some stuff for you. That's not this show. So, with that said, it sounds like there's going to be an overhaul of the way Nationals is starting to work. And we might be starting to see something that works closer to other games, where there's going to be a qualifying level to get to Nationals. And then I'm taking a wild guess here, but more than just first place from Nationals could be qualifying for Worlds. Now, that's speculation at best, because previously only the first place player in a Nationals tournament got immediately into day 2 of Worlds. Now it's looking like, the finals portion of Worlds, as it were. But it looks like now they can't do that, because you're also running U.S. Nationals at the same time as Grinder is occurring, or a qualifier for Worlds. So like at the exact same time both are happening, and then you have one more Worlds qualifier the next day. So this is kind of my overall speculation thoughts on look at this. What do you guys take away from this? Tom, we'll start with you.
I don't know what to say, really. I mean, it's news, but I can't say that I really feel one way or another strongly about it. I think that it's a natural step in the game if the game is growing and if the organization of the game's tournament scene is growing. And I think that if anything, the only real thing I would say definitively is that the fact that changes are being made means attention is being paid, and I am grateful for the fact that the tournament scene is under scrutiny. I don't know whether things are getting better or worse, or whether it's all going to be a successful or unsuccessful experiment, but I do like the fact that it's obvious evidence that there's a commitment being made to trying to streamline and better organize the higher tournament setting by WizKids, and that to me is a sign of faith in the game. So I think it's good.
All right. Mike?
I have mixed feelings about it. The restructuring with American Nationals, that's fine. That actually makes sense in my mind. You have to qualify to be able to go to a national. I hope that it doesn't go that way for us though here, because we have far fewer WKOs, and there's only really 2 that we have that are accessible, because Canada is very spread out compared to the States. The American thing is fine. I wonder if this is actually going to affect Worlds as well, in terms of actually who can go and participate in the actual World event itself.
Remember I said there are still the qualifiers at Origins there, so.
Oh, there are. Okay. Well, sorry, I missed that. The positive is that there is a lot more opportunity for loot for people in general because of the WKOs, and they are really new overall. Because all there was before was the Nationals and Worlds events, and that was it. To be able to get these really cool con exclusives and everything else. Well, there's, that's great twofold, okay? Because it just gives people more opportunity to win them, but it also means the price in the secondary market will potentially drop, because there will be more stuff out there in general. So it gives people more opportunity overall. The I guess the other side here is that I'm kind of looking at it and how it's affecting the Rock. And the Rock was the only way to go to regular kind of competitive tournaments before. And yeah, there weren't a lot up here. Jason and I have organized a few little things like Winamaps and things like that. We did provincials last year, and now we're doing provincials again this year. Jason's going to be taking the reins on that, and I'll be working on more on the new Canada Cup or Nationals, their version of Nationals, essentially coming up. But what happens with that is because the prizing is different and it's custom maps and dice and hats and things like that, and that's what people look at. I think it'll mean lower attendance for those things because people's money will be going into paying for entry into WKOs if they are more prevalent. Now, in Canada, I think it'll affect us less, but in the States, it'll probably affect them a lot more. And that in itself, I think, is inherently negative because it kind of bashes the amateur league down rather than working together and working on things and overall growing the game. In that way, because I think that in any given sport, there should be an amateur league and a professional league, essentially. So that's my kind of convoluted take on it. I have a lot more to say about it, but that's where I'll cut it off tonight.
All right, Jay?
Yeah, okay. Oh, God!
I apologize to anybody who's listening on headphones for that, by the way. Go ahead, Jay.
First of all, clearly, I want my Dr. Fate ID. Don't make it hard for me.
Don't make it hard.
Yeah, I have some issues with the new system in general. Like making the second round of WizKids Opens that close to the Nationals makes it hard for people to make travel plans and like book off work and all that stuff. It's just like not really enough notice to know whether or not you qualify and whatnot and to make plans accordingly. And it also sucks that, well, it's a decision to put U.S. Nationals and Worlds together. It sucks for people that are going to be at Worlds anyways, but because they're not American and going to American WizKids Opens, even though they're there anyways, they can't even try to compete in U.S. Nationals. So that kind of sucks for them. And Canadians, because it's going to be Worlds will be relatively close to the year, but we will not have a chance to try for the U.S. Nationals unless you go to Opens. It's good that they're throwing in the new prizes to get more people to be excited and going to these events. So that's a positive thing, and more cons means it's easier for other people to get them that can't necessarily go to cons. So yeah. More product out is good. And it's good to make more WizKids Opens in general, because making official WizKids tournaments with prizing officially is good in general, and these are going to be constructed, right? So gives more opportunity for people to try out stuff and see what's going to be being played and figure out what is happening. So that's basically what I have to say.
All right. Now, I do have a slightly more in-depth opinion on it. I don't want to go too in-depth because we are trying to kind of speed this episode along. But, excuse me. I appreciate that WizKids is trying to put up some more tournaments, but if they're going to be putting all of these tournaments up and this is going to be their thoughts, like going forward they're going to put up more tournaments, that's fine. We need to know. And that's a big issue if you're going to be entering the competitive space as far as getting your game out there. We can't be finding out 2-3 months in advance. If I go on Google and look up the Magic Grand Prix tournament circuit for 2016, I know every event up to December. We need to know this stuff because we can make our travel plans. We'll show up. People will be there. We need to know though. We can't travel on a month, 2 months notice. Like give us the whole year schedule right up front. At face value, and we will be at these places. And that's something that I think WizKids is really lacking if they're going to be popping all these new things. Now, I don't want to get too much on the attack because it does look like that their ideas with the WKO were overwhelming. The results for it were overwhelming as far as people coming in, and they had to act quickly. Originally, rumors were flying around that U.S. Nationals was going to be in Jersey, but when you have 79 people already qualified for U.S. Nationals, what's the point of holding a special tournament. Just their idea was, okay, bring them all to Origins, give a bunch of extra tournaments because we can only have these qualifying people in there. And it looks like you're going to have to start a tournament structure where certain levels of tournaments qualify you for one thing, and then the next level of qualification gets you in there, but there'll still be last-second qualifications for this one, last-second qualifications for that one. It's a structure that works, but they have to get it organized, and that's me using my dad voice on WizKids. Like, guys, I appreciate what you're doing, but organize it. Get the word out, get the news out, get it all planned out for the year. We can't be doing this, when's it going to be? 2 months notice. Okay, well, I got nothing. Right? If they switch worlds to, like, they were great by telling us that they switched worlds to Origins last year. That's the one time we knew a year in advance that it was going to happen, X was going to happen ahead of time. And we just knew that the location was changing. It was still going to be the same tournament ultimately. So all I'm saying is, while I appreciate all these awesome changes and the growth and whatnot, they have to move forward and schedule this a lot better. Because everything for the year, all at once, great. That's one thing The Rock has been doing well. Is for the year, I know where rocks are, and there'll be a couple last-second ones, but that's ultimately on those TOs to get people to their tournament. The regionals are all set up. The provincial states most of them are already scheduled, and there's already a date set for them. The country nationals, the rock national levels, are already set up. So WizKids has got to get that kind of organization going because they do have the prize body, and then with that, they're going to have a set season. Once we have all that year out, then The Rock can plan around that, and then you do have the amateur and the professional leagues all kind of working together all as one, and everybody can be happy. Right? And that's where I want it to be. Is I want to be able to plan out my Clicks year in January or December of this year for 2017. I want to know my Clicks year, where I'm going to be, when I'm going to be there, how I need to get there, and how much money I'm going to need for it, well in advance. And by the time I get to that point, I'm a happy camper. I'm sorry, guys. I went at length, and I know we're trying to keep this episode short.
Wow, dude. Holy mackerel. No, you know what? This is an important issue, and I think that you had to go in depth in the way that you did. I kind of went in depth a little bit, too. It is important to acknowledge a lot of this stuff because it does affect competitive play as a whole.
I've been competitive gaming too long to watch something like this that's still awesome, but falter on, like, the basic idea of scheduling. So, on a more happy note, speaking of tournaments, Majestics, while I got a link from Patrick at Majestics, while we were doing the pre-show game, we got the results from a tournament this past weekend in Tulsa, Oklahoma at Dice Addiction. A super qualifier occurred, and I do want to send out a special congratulations. I believe Matt Grikunos, who won this tournament, is actually a viewer on the channel on a regular basis. So I'm going to flip over to the screen share to check out his awesome-looking picture of him accepting his prize.
Yeah.
Now, this is not his first Rock win, from my understanding, so I don't think we had that much of a say in it, but he's a viewer, and we do appreciate that people who watch the show do win things. But we're going to go over the top four.
I've met Matt, actually, in person.
I haven't had the pleasure yet.
I met him at Worlds, actually. Rock Worlds, yeah. Nice guy.
All right. So, in fourth place, or in the top four, we have Jared Ramusin with 2 Nick Furies, a Mercury, a Wonder Woman at 25, and a Hulkbuster Torso at 10. His maps for the Black Mercy Garden and Verkoyansk Mountains. One day I'll swear I'll learn how to pronounce that. It's subtle. What do you think, Tom?
What can I say? I'm happy to see, and it's not even the last time we'll be talking about it on this list, the new cheapest TK in the game showing up, and also a KC, one of the KC figures on their low point value showing up to provide general support to 2 of the most popular and powerhouse pieces. 2 times one of the most popular and powerhouse pieces of the game. What can I say? It hits really hard, and it's hard to defend against.
Yeah, Mike.
Let's see. Sorry, I was distracted for a second there. Move on to Jay for a second. Are you talking about the first place?
Fourth place.
Fourth place.
Okay. Yeah.
Jay.
It's pretty darn brutal. Especially with TK to TK, the awesome 12 attack support, especially when you have prob between, if one of your Nick Furies is hurt, you have the other one for prob, so good luck missing that support and getting right back up there again. The torso for invulnerability is always awesome, although the only debate is deciding which specific Nick Fury to put it on. Maybe you have a preference, who knows? It's a solid team.
Mike?
Yeah, it's really, really good. I double Nick Fury. It's like, how can you go wrong? I mean, it does what it does. It's not like there's anything that mysterious about it overall, and that's not a bad thing in this case. It actually works really, really well. The choice in maps is pretty much right up there as well. It's fine.
Yep. All right. I'm going to let Jay start on this one after I'm done talking about this team, because it looks a little familiar. It is Nick Fury, Rocket Raccoon, this is a super rare from Guardians of the Galaxy, Jason of Sparta, and General Lane. And those map choices with the Daily Planet Route and the Baxter building. Jay, where have I seen this before?
I think I somehow, and from the future, saw this team, went back in time, and stole it.
Oh, for those of you who don't remember, this is that episode where we built teams for each other. This is the team Jay built for me.
To be fair, you have basically built the same team. It was just a matter of Cerise versus Jason. So
exactly, but still,
of course, you were the one that was thinking you wouldn't go with your namesake. So silly. Apparently, it is doing as well as you would think.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep. Tom?
The only tricky thing with this team, as I discovered when I was playing General Lane Nick Fury, is that you have to remember to keep, if you want that outwit to still happen, you have to keep General Lane and Nick Fury together, because of how Superman Energy works. But it clearly does things awesomely. I mean, Jason Sparta carries your whole team, protects you, you have leadership on Nick, you have double prob with him and Rocket, you can reroll Nick's shape change. You have another leadership with Jason and another outwit, and your whole team has outwit and enhancement, and multiple characters ignoring elevation. Good map roll, a bonus. Not really much to. Yeah, it's just awesome. I'm awesome.
Tom?
All I can say is Jeff was the guy playing that one.
Jeff.
I think in every game, Jeff had one very, very tense turn. It was the turn right after Jason Sparta had blew his wad on protecting the whole team, getting them into position where they could make the attacks, and then they started making those attacks. And if they succeeded, then that was his game, and if they didn't succeed, then he didn't have necessarily a lot of protection in return. I mean, that's the one thing about that team, of course, is that it's got to make it work when it hits. But obviously it was, so good for him.
Yeah. Mike?
I'm just really glad that Tom didn't say load. And I'll pass.
Yeah, I have run this team. It is good. It's all a matter of picking
really
and choosing that turn for Jason Esparta to carry and just make it happen after that. Once it happens after that, you can leave a very wounded opponent, because don't forget that you've got Nick Fury now being able to say you can't use a power, and then he can outwit, followed by Rocket Raccoon using outwit. It's an absolute group of nonsense saying you can't do anything after I'm done attacking you. Generally, you leave people in a condition that they can't really stop that from occurring.
This also looks like the only theme team in the entire top 8, although there's an arcade to nullify the map roll bonus, but generally speaking, he was doing good with the map roll bonus. So
yeah. Next up, in second place, Randon Polk. He played the KC Shazam, the KC Green Lantern at 30 points, Mr. Mix's Pitlick, and a Despatelis, and he only brought Koragar with him. Yeah, go ahead, Mike, on this one.
Have on it. What's that map?
Koragar?
What is that map?
It's kind of like this. It looks like a city.
I'm gonna pull it up.
It's a city with a bunch of posts in the middle of it, but there's a lot of buildings on the outside. It's kind of like a horseshoe, if you will, of buildings.
Oh, yeah, I know this one.
I think it was month 5 of Warflight.
I've used this actually a fair amount. Yeah, interesting map choice. Well, I mean, KC Shazam is awesome, and the best of the KCs, in my humble opinion. And then
Agreed.
having the Green Lantern there to back him up is great. Mr. Mixes Pitlick.
Domination.
He does his stuff. He
Especially
does
with all
many
those rolls.
things well. It's so funny. I'm just looking at the values, even 170, 30, 70, 30. It's like chunk, little assembly line. Really straightforward stuff though overall. Does what it does. Drop off Despitalis. I mean, it's good.
Yeah, drop off Despitalis with Shazam, tie down whoever you want. Meanwhile, Shazam just zips out of there, and then Despitalis gives them problems.
Yeah, either that or drop off Mixie, and then second.
Yeah,
And also, it's hard to hit Mixie with, especially if you just hit Despitalis, you have Mixie's dice interfering. So.
I would be very interested to see how it was played, because of course you could double move with Mixie to get Despitalis in there and get Mixie onto the click he wants to be at, while Shazam is just taking strafing, dominating attacks, and then once Mixie gets onto that second click, presuming that he once he does, then of course he becomes a dominating machine. But this team can really cross the board in a hurry. It can go up the board. Casey can carry everybody up the board halfway, and Green Lantern can put up a barrier to protect them while they're in the middle of the board. And then as of the next turn, they can all get to wherever they want to get to with Despo locking down, Mixie where he needs to be, and Shazam just strafing. So I would be interested to see who was carrying Despo, because I really could go either way. But either way, great team.
Also, I'm realizing that 19 Despitalis can be a ridiculous combo with the Pulse Wave to give the tokens to push them, and then Despitalis does extra poison damage with the extra tokens.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all really well done. I wonder how he played it.
Yeah. Really cool team.
All right, it looks like everybody kind of round-tabled that one, so we can move on to top placing with Matt Grakunos. He's got a Zombie Super Skrull, a Copycat, Mercury at 25 points, and he's got a Weapon Drop and the Helmet of Fate. His maps are the Hollow Doom, the Slaughter Swamp, the Flooded Wakanda, and Odin. And then his sideline was 2 Alpha Primitives, 2 World's Finest 001, 002, World's Finest 18. So, like, the 4 Supermen from World's Finest, 3 of the Ant-Man from the Collector's Box, and the World's Finest 003 Batman. So it looks like he was ready to.
Too many sideline figures. He has 10.
What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's 10. That's probably an oversight.
To be fair, that's also a very little known rule, so I don't blame it.
Yeah, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah, it was 10. It's one of the smaller rules, like 9 sideline. I don't think with the sideline that he has, it makes that drastic a difference. Because if you look at it, it's Copycat is there to deal with this current Superman meta, and he's ready to take a Superman and have his own to swap out. Because in the limited format, we've already seen a team with 3 of the Supermen get to the top 2 of one event. The event that Patrick Ivoco just recently won. So it looks like his sideline was well thought out with Copycat in mind. Then you got Mercury, of course, to TK, because of Zombie Super Skrull. I hear he does some really big things if you get him nice and close. Go ahead, Tom. I've been rambling.
You got a lot of options there. Weapon Drop plus Helmet of Fate means that even before Super Skrull starts choosing things, he's already got some options. Obviously, you can't carry both, but you can cater your choice for him based on what you see across the table, and then whatever Copycat is switched out to, providing Copycat is switched out at all, then the result, the other one goes to that person. Mercury gets him into position. Also, Mercury can, of course, pull the objects back initially so that you don't have to commit yourself to pick them up. And I love that Slaughter Swamp. That's almost always a map I bring because I find that it's a nice little balance, and it makes it hard to do. Well, it's good against Nick Fury, and it also makes it hard to do any real end-to-end attacks in a lot of cases. And it just looks like a team that was this is it's almost exactly what we talk about when it comes to building a team that's ready for anything. Super Skrull can choose powers. You've got two objects that allow you to choose powers. Copycat can swap out, and you've got a huge sideline full of options for the things that you might very well see. So it feels like it was a team that looked at everything that was out there and said, how can I best prepare for whatever I might see. And then you sit down at the table and you hope that you can play it smart. So this is the type of team that is going to be so much of it depends upon being played patiently and smartly and piloted well by a good player. This is not a point-and-click team, so good for him.
Oh yeah, he's done well with it. It's a really, really cool team overall. I like it a lot. I'm glad that he played it. It's just probably the most complex out of the top four, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Jay?
This is There's how many Nick Furies there were. This must have been a nightmare to play just because of how strategic you had to be. Because it can be risky. And also, with all the different sub-100-point characters, there's just so many different choices. Like against the Nick Fury Soldier team, it's like, do you steal Rocket or Chasen? Or maybe even General Lane? It's just, And Super Skrull apparently can beat Nick Furies if you're good enough, so that's good to see.
I think the choice of power gives him a lot of options, and the fact that if the zombie Super Skrull can get the attack off, which he just has to get through shape change, so if you give him Hypersonic and Battle Fury and Super Strength, you can one-shot a Nick Fury with a solid attack, because Nick Fury has 6 clicks, you do it with an Ultra Heavy, and you are dealing 7. So the extra 1 from the Ultra Heavy gets over the toughness hump, so it's just a matter of making the hit stick from there. So Zombie Super Skrull is capable so long as you brought the TK and the Ultra Heavy and the tools to do the job, which you damn well should in this game. You just got to know, you got to always remember that Battle Fury ignores shape change. And I'm just going to bring my face on for a brief second because in the midst of our show, we got another result. This just in, ladies and gentlemen. As we were playing, we have another WKO, and I had a feeling this was going to happen, which is why we only did the top 4 of the last one. But this one is going to be from Milwaukee, Oregon. I don't know why I decided to go a little louder for Oregon. But this one, of course Patrick wants me to talk about this one. Because he won! Okay, so let's go into the top 4. First off, we have Jared Parker playing a Nick Fury, a Banshee, a Rocket Raccoon, and a Pim Particles.
That's another pocket.
We think we've all talked about this one before.
In fact, this is one of the before going into the first Winamap of the new season of the Limited. This was one of 2 teams I was sitting on. So we talked about this at length.
And you saw it a few times at that tournament. So yeah, we know what it does, and it does powerful things.
It does what it does. So then in third place we have Richard Lee Johnson with 2 Nick Furies and a Jason of Sparta.
Again, we've seen it before. In fact, if you just look up a little bit on that screen.
In second place, 2 Nick Furies and a Jason of Sparta with the same map choice. I think these guys might have colluded together. I'm not sure. Richard Lee Johnson and Karan Shaw. Do you guys know each other?
But they don't have to. I mean, that team was floating around, a few months ago, right? Like it's a known quantity.
I'm just going to go into some of the other ones since we don't have much to talk about with the third and fourth, or top second, third, and fourth, because we've talked about it before. But we have a Flash in the top 5. We have Highfather and Nick Fury also in the top 6. We have a Nick Fury copycat spy team in the top 8, and we have a Zombie Super Skrull, Red Sun Superman, and a KC Green Lantern at 30 in the top 8. How many were in attendance on this one? We had 28 players in attendance on this one. And of course, in first place, the Zombie Super Skrull still reigns supreme. From Patrick Iboko playing a Zombie Super Skrull, a copycat, Bizarro at 25, we haven't seen that in a little while, and Henry at 15. He brought Ladveria, a Flooded Wakanda, and Hall of Doom map. Now this, nope, it's not a theme. Never mind. Henry would just break it in half anyway. But yeah, copycat Zombie Super Skrull seems to be coming out a lot.
Well, that's the thing with Nick
Great
Fury, right?
combination.
He has certain weaknesses, and he needs the pit crew, a lot of the time, specifically Jason. And if you take away his taxi, he loses a lot of his mobility.
Yeah.
Especially because he's only a walker, and he wants to pick maps with a lot of different elevations. That really can mess him up.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Absolutely.
And Super Skrull is one of those figures that is probably the best answer to him, just because of the aforementioned hypersonic battle fury super strength.
Yep. I mean, he subs out the instead of having your cheap TK, instead you've got a cheap tertiary attacker in Bizarro, and of course Henry's there to provide the support that he does. In his case, as opposed to the last one, the last one we were talking about having the weapon drop and the Helmet of Fate giving power options without Super Skrull having to choose them. Here, just goes for straight up bigger damage stats with Henry for those 15 points. So.
Yeah. Mike, anything to add, or?
Does what it does, man.
Yeah.
You guys pretty much covered it all. It's all good.
Let it be said that it's pretty unbelievable that somebody managed to pull off a 4-character KC theme team in the top 8.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
I believe it's a future theme team, and it is Casey Wonder Woman, Casey Green Lantern, Casey Spectre, and Casey Flash.
That's crazy.
I think the funniest part is that his highest attacker was the least expensive figure on his team.
Yeah, and you're hoping for crit hits on your opponent's turn at that point.
Yeah, because he's just like, welcome to hell.
Yeah.
That's a lot of prob, and it's not necessarily the easiest to Flash with his own prob inspectors, and maybe Perplex and Green Lantern. And worst case scenario, you just go back to Wonder Woman, who's the best healer now.
Up against that team, I would be the one that rolls a critical hit in that spot, and you'd look at me just do this face like, I prob my crit hit. I'm not letting that happen.
And then you go back.
As far
to
as the
missing.
Wonder Woman goes, I'm interested. It's interesting that the other newest, cheapest healer in the game is Doc Magnus at also 25. And if you run him together with Mercury, you can get some sidestep action going to actually start moving your support characters, albeit slowly, across the map. And then you have the cool TK to the healer combo, and then you also get +1 to healing if they're near each other. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like how many points do you have? What do you need specifically for your team? But I think in a lot of ways the Wonder Woman's better just because 12, and then she's also much harder to kill if they want the easy points. And also, the KC isolated trade is really advantageous because you can move her closer to the action at the beginning of the game, so she's going to be near your character when they're going to be in the action getting attacked back. And on top of that, the being able to support even while she or the support's E is adjacent to opposing characters. So I think you're going to be seeing a lot of her.
All right. So going on from there, I hope we all brought our Jade teams, guys.
Sure did.
Jade week. White Light figure we're building with this week. I'm going to lead in responsibly this time with who the actual figure is, because I've had a nasty habit of forgetting to do that as part of the lead-in while everybody gets themselves set up for this part. So Jade, we got her dial right here. She's indomitable. She's a Green Lantern Corps outsider, White Lantern Corps. She's got a couple special powers. She's got the Construct trait, which allows her to use a Construct. So chances are a lot of the teams you see here aren't going to be fully functional in the limited format. Unless, some of our guys tend to do that. Everybody is stalled, which means I'm stalled, right?
I can hear you.
I'm not stalled.
Okay, sorry. On my screen, you guys, all your cameras are stopped and not moving, so I got a little panicky there. But in any case, she's got improved targeting, ignores hindering terrain, and she's got a special movement power. Jade can use Mind Control. When she hits an opposing character with her Mind Control and action resolve, heal her of 1 damage. She has that on all of her middle clicks, not her first and last click. Her last click comes with a stop click, which comes with regeneration. And of course it's White Lantern one, so it can't be ignored. So even if you pulse wave to it, you're stuck there, or it stops there. And of course she's got an 8 attack with support to go with that. Jay, do you want to take the lead? I'll set up a screen share with your team that you sent me in a second.
I love your enunciation because I'm confused as to whether or not you're asking Jade to talk about her team with herself.
Talk about your team.
I didn't think we were done talking about how much we all love Patrick, so I built with Faust in mind, with the outsiders. So I did Jade, of course. Put her with a green wall, because we're going full tactics for this one. So that's 95 points. Throw in Faust, because obviously giving Brainiac to him as a possessor, because he already comes with Psychic Blast, but Outwit is good. He already has Sidestep. The Reducer's also good. And whatnot. And the stats are, of course, good. I also added in the Fast Force as Nightwing at full points of 50, just to get outsiders on there, as well as he's pretty good, attacking-wise, mobility-wise, stat-wise, with Stealth, 17 reflexes. Nothing to wild card, and then I threw on the little scene Outsiders ATA, which I will pull up and read off, because that is not the most known thing.
At the beginning of your turn, roll a d6 for all friendly characters using this team ability. If the result is equal to or less than the number of friendly characters that can use the team ability, you may immediately give one of those characters a close combat attack as a free action, using its printed combat values. Uncopyable.
That is psychotic.
You mind if I go on?
Not at all.
Yeah, I figured this would be a good ATA just because I needed the filler, and then also it's beginning of the turn, and Faust with his crazy sidestep can set that up, and then even out Wit before he attacks, and then do a lot of damage with his very easy to hit awesomeness. Outsiders is good to get rid of opposing super strength modifiers, because otherwise any one of these guys is basically going to go down to one solid attack. And then, of course, Green Lantern Power Battery, because Jade is a Green Lantern as well as an Outsider and a White Lantern. So what did I do? The net to set up Faust and or Stealth on Nightwing. The decoy probably on Faust to go with his newfound Impervious. Sniper could go on pretty much anybody, although it'd be especially fun on Nightwing to go with his 10 range Outsiders and then to get him actually attacking at that 10 range. Unfortunately, even though I claim to be the Wildcard Master, I forgot to throw in something wildcardable for Nightwing, but sometimes bad decisions are made. That comes out to $2.99.
All right. Mike, you're up, sir.
Okie dokie, let me pull it up here. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so I took the Outsiders approach as well. I went Modern Limited. I didn't know that we were going to be doing the other way, but either way, here's my team. So Jade with the wall attached, just because I can. Although, actually, you can't because it's Modern Limited. Yeah. Shoot. Totally messed that up. This is kind of a last-minute put together for me. I'm having one of those days. But anyway, it's just Modern. So we'll say it's after retirement, and there are no batteries, so this is actually maybe viable, but not really. Fun Outsiders team. Yeah, that's true. So the Jade with the wall construct, Freddie Freeman, and Creeper, all Outsiders. 3 Outsiders, ATAs, some PIM particles for good luck. I didn't want to put any other special objects on there because I want Freddie Freeman to have access to 2 Ultra Heavies during his rampage. It's nice because Jade has TK to begin with, so she's basically throwing forward 2 of my close combat attackers. I love the Creeper. I think he's really, really good from World's Finest with the Outsiders team ability on top of just having pretty good overall stats for close combat. So yeah, the whole idea is just throw these guys out there, kind of push her like first and second turn, so basically 2 TKs in a row, push her to her second click so that I have those special powers available, and go from there. It's not really that complicated, just lots of fun.
All right. Tom.
Just before I screen share, I just wanted to explain a little bit of the starting point here, because I didn't want to build a theme team, in part just because, I don't know, I just felt like it was time to consider different ways of constructing rather than just building into theme. So I'm not themey, but I instead looked at Jade first and saw that the combination of TK and enhancement is a bit of it can be a curious one at times, because although TK has many uses, one of the big ones is to help you get a nice alpha strike by throwing your guy forward, but Jade still wants to be next to that person when they're making the attack to get the enhancement to work. There's any number of different things you can do with it, but I use that as this jumping off point to create a team that I've been meaning to try to find a variation for a while. So here is my team. It is Jade, as already noted, she does what she does, with Phantom X. One of these people where you do have a use for your TK throwing something forward, in this case it's Eva, and yet you can still stay behind and enhance up the aforementioned Phantom X. This is combined with Ant-Man, and it's largely because this is also a limited team, it should be noted, and it's harder sometimes to barrier in Phantom X, and so this team is built around the idea of barriering him with ants. Rather than with blocking terrain. So by swapping out as much as you can to get lots of ants into the game, I know that this is not one of the Ant-Men that brings in ants, but it's just a starting point. You swap out as much as you can, bring in some ants, and get those in the way. And then, of course, Henry is there because enhancement is always a good thing with Phantom X, and double enhancement is an even better thing. And finally, the Helmet of Fate. And even though I don't really play with Phantom X very often, but I've been excited at some point to use him with the Helmet of Fate because I like the idea of mind controlling across the board. Basically sending Eva across the board and then mind controlling through Eva with two targets to basically make your whole team kill each other before they can get across the board and try to kill him. The operation of it is pretty straightforward. Jade has her TK. She starts out by TKing the Helmet of Fate back onto Phantom X. Ant-Man makes her tiny. And then turns into somebody else who brings in an ant. That ant sidesteps her forward one, and Phantom X takes the action to pick up the object, which to equip the object and thus bring out Eva. On your next turn, then you basically just clear. But on the turn after that, you are free to. Well, you could do. I guess you don't have to clear. You could. It's up to you. The point being, eventually you get to the point where Jade is going to be TKing Eva forward because she's now in row 3. Her TK will take Eva, who's also in row 3, up to row 11. Eva can then move her 8, which puts her into row 19. And now Phantom X has a great range for attacking. Phantom X is next to 2 enhancers. Also next to Ant-Man, who's got, presumably you move back into this one, you can perplex him up. And this is also the one that can turn Phantom X briefly into a giant, so that you can, I believe you can still get that the benefit of seeing over things as a giant when you're shooting through Eva. I looked into it, and I couldn't see any reason not to, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a nice little bonus if it does work, that he can now see over things in addition to Sharpshooter allowing him to see through them. Shooting through Eva on an end-to-end attack with double enhancement and perplex and RCE, or he can dual target mind control and get the job done that way. So it's just a variation on the old Phantom X idea, using ants instead of barrier tokens and trying to boost up his stats and potentially use them with whatchamacallit, mind control, because I think that would be really super fun. And that's all I have to say.
All right. So
That's a really cool team. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
In thinking that I was being original by choosing the Outsiders, I guess I was wrong. So I went with everybody else, made an Outsiders team, but I made one like
Not me.
really tactics. Well, I mean 3 out of 4, Tom. So you're the minority. You're the edge case. You always are. But I went super tactics heavy. So I started, of course, with Jade with a wall, as you do. I went with Freddie Freeman, much like Mike did. I'm putting Ion on Jade, though, because her stats do lend a lot to Ion and what he can bring to the game. And, of course, the ability to add her powers, add some, toughness is good, impervious is better. Outwit is amazing, and, you get the extra attack and extra defense on Jade, so she goes a little bit more offensive. Add in the fact that I went with a Green Lantern power battery, to add +1 all of her stats except for damage. She's a bit of a brick house herself as far as shooting is concerned. Add in Freddie Freeman with a sniper rifle to be hypersonic shooting with the enhancement from Jade, which is, the idea is position with that phasing, have some pretty amazing stats where I need to be, and throw in some hypersonic big attacks from Freddie Freeman, and if you don't want to attack at range, then attack close combat with an ultra heavy. Both are really good options. I had 25 points in there to squeeze, so I put in the Fast Force Nightwing at 25 because, like I said a little while back, is He's Nighthawk Prime for the masses, and I'm going to Outsiders my opponent's extra defenses away.
Super good.
Or just,
So good.
yeah, be Nightwing. And, of course, I went with a green power battery. I put a sniper rifle and a shield on there. The shield added on to Jade just makes her that much more hard to hit. Or I could put it on Nightwing, depending on the situation I'm in. I got an extra wall on there to put on somebody. Mostly, my construct choices are reactionary. Look at the situation I'm in, put the construct I need on at the time, and I haven't enough of a point spread to just add on the one I need when I need it. I mean, the boxing glove is very likely becoming the 4-point ones, depending on the situation, or I might even just switch it if I was thinking off the top of my head to the 2 4-point ones to make it make a little bit more sense in my head. That's kind of what I came up with off the cuff while you guys were playing earlier today. So
I was the only one of us that used Faust. That was odd.
What's that?
I think.
I almost did.
I'm not gonna lie, I considered him, but I looked at it and said I want a little bit more oomph out of what I wanted, and by giving a sniper rifle to Freddie Freeman, I looked at it and said I could go one of two ways with it that way. That was my head thinking on that one.
Head thinking.
Head thinking.
It's always dependent on the head, right? So, with all that, we don't have another topic to cover because it's a bit of a short week, so we're going to move right into the fan questions. Check us out, facebook.com/marriedwithclicks. Look for the link to this episode or to throw in your questions at the last second. You have a brief couple seconds because I do have the original announcement post to get questions from. So, starting with that, this is a new one. BW,
Hey.
that's his name, asks, not really a meta question, but as far as story-based events are concerned, what would you like to see, and what would the main prize be? Well, we have Civil War coming up, but past that, off the top of my head, how about a Crisis? I mean, we had a Crisis set way back in the day. How about just Crisis on Infinite Earths or Infinite Crisis? Just a Crisis event, just to kind of bring all that back into the forefront. That's what I would say.
Let me just get in there quickly to say that the right answer is the Age of Apocalypse. It was custom designed for it. Give me some boosters that are filled with Age of Apocalypse versions of all the characters. Every month you get a different horseman as a prize. Your final big prize is a big colossal apocalypse. This thing writes itself.
We've talked about this at length, in fact. That would be very, very good overall. But I can see that we're due for another DC event, I guess, after this one. So, I don't know. I don't read enough DC to really, really know all that well. Maybe, what was it called? Godhead or whatever? The recent Green Lantern one? Although that would be 2 Green Lantern-based ones in a row. So
yeah,
I don't really know.
let's give the Green Lanterns a break.
We need a break from Superman and Batman, too.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's coming with the big Marvel influx we have coming up. Jay, what are your thoughts on an event?
I was gonna, semi-agree with you and say just generally, not one of the Crisis events specifically, but just them in general, because there's Infinite Crisis, Crisis on Infinite Earths,
Final Crisis.
Yeah, I was just reading Final Crisis today.
Heck,
we just recently the Lex Luthor duo, although it doesn't really have anything to do with it, has a comic book reference of Infinite Crisis. I was thinking. There's a lot of cool material to go with, a lot of different characters. We've got a lot of clicks from those stories, like the Superman duo con was also from that. So it seems like they're aware of these events, but just for some reason have not gone with them. But as far as final prizes go, it just really depends. I mean, if you can only do one, maybe Omega Sanctioned Darkseid would be really cool, or a really pimped out Superboy Prime, maybe something like that.
I was just thinking as well, Convergence could be an option because that's a more recent one. It's still fresh in our heads. And you could get some kind of big old Brainiac to wrap that up. We have 2 of his ships. Let's get a Brainiac. Right?
That's true.
Yeah, nice to get a Brainiac with Legion of Doom keyword.
And I'm also just going to sit here and continue dreaming that someday they'll do a Marvel versus DC. I know that I know they won't, but hey, If they did it in the comics, I can believe it could happen in HeroClix.
It took them 2 years of organized play to allow DC and Marvel to be on the same table.
I say it again. If they've done it in the comics, I believe they could do it in HeroClix. I don't think they will, but I just don't. I just don't see that it being impossible so much as unbelievably unlikely.
I just realized piece I want now more than anything. Similar to the changing costume of Superman, I would love a Superman with like multiple sculpts to the side of Superman, and then a bunch of different alternates of what happened in one of the crises. Like the one where he's like clutching his head, like and then it's like all of the different multiverse Superman and whatever. Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Nope.
No.
We understand what we're talking about, but you also missed the part where we're all tired of Superman for a little bit.
Yeah. That's not the Superman, please.
Like one sculpted like Superman, then Red Sun, then like whatever. That'd be really awesome.
All right. Next up, Chris Stockhouse. It's official.
Hey.
I'm going to a 400-point ROC Super Qualifier Saturday in Cincinnati, Ohio. A little bit of an extra plug in there, eh? There should be a healthy number of great players there to compete against. I'm very excited to see how my team does. I'll share my team on next week's episode. Look forward to it.
Great.
My question for this week's episode is, at 400 points, do you guys think the games are more or less likely to go to time? Do the extra 100 points make any serious difference on the length of the game? I find myself taking quick-ish turns compared to the average player. Slowing down is something I've been working on when the situation calls for slowing down when I have the lead. I just want to immediately go into this and say, me and Mike had a conversation recently where Mike has complained about several games where he said he wished he had more time, and I keep telling him if he speeds up his turns, he gets some more time. But meanwhile, he's telling me to take my time. So it's a double-edged sword. What do you need as far as your turn is concerned? But if I was to
that's a lie. I don't talk to you.
He talks at me, and I respond to what he says at me. He doesn't realize I'm listening. But anyway, 400 points, the 100-point difference, if you were to ask me, I think the games are likely to go faster because more nonsense happens in the 400-point category, especially if it's a Rock Age one. If it's a Rock Silver Age, that 400-point format had some major nonsense going on, and I think some games lasted maybe 2 or 3 turns. Not including the game. Oh, how long does it take a Gamma Bomb to go off? 5 turns?
8, I think.
8, yeah.
I don't think the Gamma Bomb was happening on as many games as it could have.
8 unless people are resetting it.
Anyway,
But yeah.
Anyway, where I was going with this is, look at how your team plays to gauge how long you should be taking with your turns. Because if your team does look to the long game, take a little bit more time to think about what you're going to do with each turn, because each turn will matter if it's a team where you're not going to win by a lot of points. If your goal is scorched earth, scorch the earth. Right? Make them all die as best you can, or just position yourself properly. Turn speed tends to come with some experience in some cases, and in other cases it comes with having to react differently than expected. I don't know. Tom, thoughts?
I think it's pretty hard to make a blanket statement, to be fair. I think that you are right that there are certain types of builds that are going to just be super gonzo, but I also think that anybody who's playing a Tom Kerr-approved Rube Goldberg team is going to have another 100 points worth of extra weird considerations that need to go into it, and so those people will be slowed down. So I hate to give the cop-out answer of it depends, but truly,
It depends.
it depends.
Like I said.
Well, we've played a lot of 400-point games at the Wizards Cache. It's maybe not the best gauge for competitive play, really, ever. But it's there's always a couple of really competitive teams that show up and go the distance and end up being in the final together. And those teams generally kill each other anyway. I mean, somebody ends up nuking the other one 9 times out of 10. So I would say that from that experience, that no, that it will, or that yes, it will. You will not go to time necessarily, or you will go to time necessarily sometimes. What am I trying to say here? Yes, sometimes. No, sometimes.
Time.
Wow, I am on fire today.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Dude, I don't speak the English. I don't think it really affects it positively or negatively. Yes, or it doesn't really make a big difference. It really when you have more figures on your team, you're going to move faster, probably because you have more things to play with.
Jay?
I think mathematically speaking, it kind of ends up evening out because you're, like Mike said, you're going to have people realizing that they need to go faster because they have more figures to go through, and their opponent has more figures. But then again, competitively speaking, I can see more people that would like to stall taking advantage of that, especially with the justification of more figures. But then again, you're going to have people that are maybe more likely to play one-man army because 400 lets you play King Thor. So King Thor is not exactly going to take forever, nor is somebody playing one-man army in general. So I think it just basically evens out.
All right. So next up, Christopher Smotherman, Obi-Wan Chris, as we like to call him.
Hey.
Do you guys see the meta shifting to more close combat swarm teams? It seems like in my limited time following the meta, it's been pretty much all range all the time. Also, do you feel like all the new rules changes and clarifications will lead to more points being scored in full modern instead of winning 8-0 because I took your ring with Lydia and no one got KO'd except Pogs the whole game? It's a difficult thing to call right now. It's the game has been in a fluctuating redesign for a long time, and I'm still waiting for it to settle out. And it's got to resettle out with this whole Nick Fury thing that exists. Like, Nick Fury exists, and when the power batteries are gone, Nick Fury exists because you don't have the Indigo cop-out. You don't have a number of cop-outs. And, yeah, as Tom said, oh, boy, hold on a second. You still have Loki as an answer. You still have... you won't have the Iron Man because he'll be gone in the next fluctuation for sure. But I do like getting into the more tactical close combat game because the range combat game has this tactic where you got to stay out of range, but close combat is timing. You got to get in there at the right time, position the characters right, because there's a lot more positioning involved with close combat, especially now with the existence of Empower. It adds just an extra layer to close combat that exists, believe it or not. Although, again, that's kind of what I'm seeing in a nutshell. Tom wants to just get in there and go, Tom!
Sure do. Just because I would say, to your point that in your time in the meta, it's been all ranged all the time. That is also true for me. But in my time, I've seen those ranges being pulled in, and frankly, I think it was more range all the time than it is now. And I think that trend is something you will see continuing. I don't think we're ever going to be living in a meta that's primarily close combat. I think there'll be a balance, and I think that we're getting closer to that balance as we go. And range is certainly still very viable, but there are close combat options that are viable. And in answer to your question, will it become more swarmy? I think the math points to the answer being yes. The more sets that come out, the more pieces are coming out at lower points, and just with that being what there's more of, then people will take more advantage. So, yes, I do think that is the way it will go. I just don't think it's going to hit the extreme of that, where it's suddenly all swarms and all close combat. We're a long way away from that, but the tendency is leaning there.
Unless your name is Jason Collins, then it is already all swarms, all close combat all the time. Mike?
Or police, or soldiers. I can see it being more allowed in general with I think the KC figures actually help with that a little bit because Shazam is incredible, and he is pretty much pure close combat. What does he have? Does he have 3 range? I can't remember.
3 range.
Yeah, he has 3 range. And also the Superman from that is really good. But yeah, Shazam is the best, and so I think we're going to end up seeing a lot more of that coming out. I mean, we did see it in some of the results tonight anyway. I think hypersonic speed is going to make its way back in terms of close combat overall. So yes, I think it will lean towards that direction again, and I'm glad for it because that kind of balance needs to happen. Because pure ranged Nick Fury glassy bullcrap needs to stop for a little while.
He says hypersonic's coming back. I have 1,000 toys on my desk, all of them amiibos. I don't have a yo-yo, and I was going to start playing with a yo-yo to accentuate the point. Jay?
I can definitely see range teams taking a bit of a hit with all the crazy elevated shenanigans maps hopefully going away soon. You're not going to have your AVX mountain map. You're not going to have ranks. You're not going to have Ryu. Ranks isn't that. Ranks is the opposite of that. But you're going to see a lot of those maps go away. So Nick Fury's not going to be able to pull out a map where it's only elevated and he just sees everything, but your team can't do jack. There is the shifting focus Superman with the awesome hypersonic one to go into other awesome ones. And all the shifting focus Batmans are close combat and awesome. And Shazam is a thing. And Casey Flash is better now. There's going to be more close combat than there was, but it's not ever going to be mainly close combat just because range is just inherently better.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So next up we have Thomas Kustrin, one of our newer patrons. I got a chance to talk to him on Friday on the Hangout. He asks, what do you consider to be the power maps right now? He's got 2 questions, so this is going to be the first one. The power maps right now, maps that you should prepare to see at high-end events, and probably worth having a copy of to use of your own to practice on. I think we say Ryut at least every 3rd sentence in this show.
And ranks.
Ranks, and then once Ranks is rotated out, Hank Pym's Laboratory is going to replace
Pym's
Ranks.
Lab, yeah, for sure.
And let's see, there's another one. That Volyeska, that's the Russian. That's one that's definitely worth owning. The Slaughter Swamp, like Tom was gushing about earlier, that's a mostly open map. Good choice. I think those are the ones you should definitely plan on seeing.
I think the Olympus map is pretty strong, especially with Nick Fury being a problem.
It's strong. We haven't seen it yet. Right,
Yeah.
and we're talking about like what you can count on seeing right now. The map's been out long enough that if it was going to be prevalent,
a copy of your own, so that's you might want to try if you're trying about hypersonic or not.
If you have a long-range see everything team, Danny the Street, because you can just move forward and just pew 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 all the way down the street, and watch your opponent struggle to get upstairs. Yes, there's a story attached to that for me.
So what's the
Tom?
second part of that question? Oh, no, I think we all agree on that. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second question, it's a little bit more in the casual environment. Do 1,000 point and above models have a place in the game anymore? Yes, they've always been played in casual games, but with the onset of the new Colossals that can be played at 100 points or lower, do you think we'll ever see the likes of the 3,000 point Thanos ever again, even in casual play? How many people actually use the most recent one, Necron? All right, so one of the things I mentioned, I think a while back, is if you look at the way the design has occurred in the game, there hasn't been a single figure made that isn't playable in at least a 300-point tournament on at least one line or one starting line since, at least in the modern age right now. Like, everything that's modern right now is 100%, every figure has at least a starting line that is playable in a 300-point game. May not be good, but it's still usable in 300 points. Now, past that, they might make the occasional thing like the Necron, but it'll generally be the outlier. But I feel like we're starting to see a decline in that, and they're kind of bringing the game low while you still can play 1,000-point games. I think what their goal now is with 1,000-point games is to just make it manageable for the casual player. Not make it manageable, make it unmanageable for 1,000 points, so that you get the idea that the 1,000 points is supposed to be a massive force of things. But we do lose that whole idea of the raid boss, like the Necron and whatnot, to kind of give all those guys something to kill. So it's a design direction they're going in. I still have yet to see it become a problem, but my table games are going to start up next week, so I'm probably going to see a ton of that Necron, a ton of big guys for a little while. Tom?
I've never really liked playing the really high point guys, so from me personally, I mean, if the question is there still a place for it, it's the same place there's always been. You can do boss raids, and every now and again you play a huge thing, and it's kind of fun, but to me, those really big, humongous point guys, it's all the fun of rolling dice and nothing else, so yeah. It's not for me, but it has the same place it always has.
Mike?
They are birthday party figures, and and I'm speaking about a particular birthday party that both Jason and I were at, actually, a little while ago. It's quite a while ago now. Yeah. And those games are 5 hours long. I mean, they are the fringe of this game, and I believe will remain so. And they can be fun, but realistically, they're social pieces. So you're sitting there, you probably have like 8 people at a table fighting one big thing, and it's gonna, unless you're playing Blitzclicks, our creation, TM Blitzclicks, which is 1 minute turns, you're never. It'll take you like 6 hours to kill the thing, and really, it's just about talking to your buddies. It's not about
Yeah.
playing the game of Heroclix. It's not about competitive Heroclix at all. Not even close to it. It's probably the most casual you can get.
Jake?
The super old Colossals like the Spectre, old Galactus, and whatnot were way overpowered and not balanced in the game at all compared to what you can play. And then the newer ones, especially that Thanos, actually, I played him. He definitely felt underpowered compared to the forces he's supposed to play against. And yeah, when you're just basically when someone's just playing one thing, they're basically just making attacks. It's not really tactical, especially with like the huge range that those kind of figures have. It's just like, okay, I'm gonna make an attack. Your turn. I'll make one attack. There's no tactics to it. So,
All right. All right. So last question, and I thank everybody for your user question or your fan questions this week. I keep saying
Thanks,
user.
fan.
I'm such a programmer. This one comes from Jonathan Rinkus. We want to try to do the quick version of this one, so be honest and fast about it. But I think we've actually answered this before on previous episodes, but it's been a while. Let's refresh it. What are all your greatest strengths and weaknesses in your playstyle? Great show. My biggest weakness is I'm hyper aggressive, and I plan for the outcome as opposed to what I'm going to do and the result of it a little too often. Tom,
Too fast.
not too fast, Mike. It's
Well, what's your greatest strength, though?
what? Oh, my greatest strength is I can play with a large number of figures and make it happen. I'm really good at improvisation, reacting to my mistakes, because I've had to react to quite a few of my mistakes. Tom?
My greatest strength is probably finding synchronicities with figures that are often overlooked. They may not even necessarily be the strongest, but because they're the second strongest, then nobody's thought of them, and so people tend not to be ready to face them. And my biggest weakness is that when I'm doing that, I tend to make incredibly stupid and simplistic mistakes while I'm busy thinking about the bigger picture, like not picking up an ultra-heavy object when I walked right by it.
You still won.
Mike?
Yeah, but it was just a good example of I think of in the higher turn, and yet you got to remember that object's there.
Just poking at you, buddy. My biggest weakness is whether I'm into it or not. So if I'm really tired or X, Y, and Z factor is happening in my life, it's external factors, then that really, really strongly impacts my ability to play and remember and make things synergize, because I actually do have a very high stress job, for instance. And so if that's screwed up same day that I'm actually going to be playing, then you have a much better shot at beating me. My greatest strength is my social ability, and that is to be able to draw on Tom and Jason and Jay and X, Y, and Z person in my life. Patrick Yaboko is a friend of mine too. Talking to people about the game itself, drawing from their collective experience, understanding that I'm not going to know everything ever, and I'm not going to know that my team may not be better than their team, and they may have an idea that can help me with my team and make it better and alter it into something that is better that I can then pilot. That's probably my greatest strength.
Jake?
Strength is pretty obvious. Omniscience is good, generally. Knowing what your opponent's figures can do and whatnot, and dot memorization is good and handy and useful. Although it can also lead to situations particularly like I was playing against something yesterday, and I thought I knew exactly how long the style was, but I did not. Although that didn't really end up hurting me, but it's just, you can't really, you start to overthink when you think that you know exactly what's going to happen, and then you plan accordingly, and then the thing that you expected to happen does not. But then again, that's still a little bit of going blind. Weakness-wise, although it's fun to pull out a figure that your opponent has no idea what they do, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win with it, and sometimes people don't use figures for a reason. So, yeah.
All right. So, I think for the 80th time now, we've answered our strengths and weaknesses, and I think this is like the 30th time it's changed. So,
Well, I think it's an organic experience.
Exactly.
We get better in areas that we identify.
absolutely. So on that note, I want to thank everybody who's watching right now. Thank you if you're watching even on the archives on YouTube. We appreciate you watching. And I just want to throw another shout out. The WKO this weekend is in Whitby, Ontario, being run by Comic Book Addiction. I'm actually pulling up the important information as far as the address is concerned, because I missed that at the beginning and I said I would be doing it now. No, don't tell me there's an issue regarding editing. Okay, it's just editing events, it's not bringing down the site. Sorry, I got off on a tangent in order to save myself. All right, so the Comic Book Edition is running the Whitby WKO. The Heroclix Regionals will be happening this Saturday, March 12th, at the St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church at 209 Cochrane Street in Whitby, Ontario. So throw that in your GPS for you guys. One more time, that's 209 Cochrane Street, Whitby, Ontario, St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. It's not too far from the store itself. That's just down the street. It's about a half-hour walk, though, so plan while you're down there to either get an Uber or a taxi between the GO station if you're a local commuter. And as well, they have as far as side events are concerned, they have prizing for 28 events, but be there ahead of time. 11 a.m. is the start time for the main event. If you're pre-registered, and I suggest you pre-register, bring some form of ID or the receipt with you to check in so that they know who you are and to speed up the process of getting everybody signed out. They'll give you your sign-up sheet before you get your packs, then you open your packs and build your team, which will be all at once, I'm sure. And there will be some food there. If you check on the WizKids event system under the site, there are some local hotels if you happen to be coming from out of town or out of country. And we look forward to seeing you guys there. I know a couple are coming from south of the border up north from Detroit. So we look forward to seeing you there. That is the entry is $40 Canadian for the main event and $20 Canadian for the Battle Royales. All right, so with that said as well, we're brought to you in part by HCRealms.com, your one-stop spot for all the social elements of HeroClix. Check out all the forums, check out the unit section, check out all the options they have there, and check out the shop. While you're there, use coupon code MARRIED for 10% off of your purchase. We're also brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com, that wonderful website that you saw us bring up those ROC results on the Apex Insiders portion. And if you want some of the premium content from there, check it out at $3 a month. You get access to regular high or premium articles from some high-end players and from me. High-end players, me. I speak very highly of myself, as you can tell. So again, thank you guys for watching us, and if you want to support us directly, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. We've added a new low end and a new goal in the long term because we're lofty on our goals. We did film this past weekend, practice night, our next milestone. You guys are going to get a chance to see that hopefully by, if not Friday, Monday. It's going to take a little bit of editing to get it all together, and time is somewhat limited on that. But it has been filmed, and it was a lot of fun, and we hope you guys enjoyed the video that we're putting together for it, and we'll look forward for your feedback on that. But without further ado, we've talked about it, and we got to get some rest because it's a long week for all of us, and we got the WKO this weekend, as I said. So always on your way out, guys, when it comes to the game of HeroClix, just remember that practice
makes
Your
We lost Jay. Team better.
Good night, ladies.
Have a good night, everybody.
Ladies and James.